Hi everyone. When I was young, my parents used to tell me, you can do anything you set your mind to. Now, I didn't really understand what that meant. I mean, I get the you can do anything part, but set your mind to, what did that mean? I thought it kind of meant anything that you think you can do, you can. And that's not really what that statement means. It means that if you can focus on something, or if you find yourself focusing on something, you'll be able to do it. And some of this has to do with competency. Like, there is a general ability that people have to do what they want to do. The real problem with this statement is when you're young, you think that it means you can do whatever you think you can do. And that's not necessarily the case. What it really means is if you can focus your mind on it, then you can do it. And I have found this to be very true. It just took me a long time to discover what it really meant. And that is part of discovering who you are and what you want to do, which is to say that if you find yourself having the ability to focus on something for long periods of time and not give up on something that you want, this is probably something that you can do and something you should consider doing. And if this is something that you have on a whim and you do it for a while and you sort of just stop caring about it, this might not be the thing for you. So for me, I noticed that when I worked with computers in some way and I wanted something out of that computer, I would kind of subconsciously set my mind to it. And that's the part that, didn't make much sense to me when I heard the original statement. To set your mind to something is not necessarily something you do consciously or something you can will yourself to do. It's part of who you are as a person that your mind sort of gets set on things. And these are, it can be anything. Anything that you like, anything that you have done, and you find that when you're in this situation and you are, doing this thing, you get fixated on it. And if you get fixated on something, especially when you're younger and you're trying to figure out who you are, that fixation might seem involuntary, that it's almost like it just happened. Hopefully you don't, but you might even regret it. Maybe you stayed up really late and missed school the next day, but you were really, really fixated on this one thing. Now, of course, there are certain things in life that this would not work well for. But if it's something like working on a computer, which was my thing, I would stay up all night trying to get a computer to work. And I didn't really know why I did it. I just found myself to be a bit obsessed. And this was the same with programs and things like that. So that should have been a clue to me when I was young, that this is something I had set my mind to. When they say that you can do anything you set your mind to, it sounds as though you have a choice in that decision. And I'm not saying that you don't, but it's not so simple when you're young, that a lot of times it's sort of what your mind gets set to. And when you are trying to figure out what you want to do, that is one of the main things that you have to figure out is, what does your mind get set to? And how can that help me to fit into society? Hard questions to answer, especially when you're a teenager or in your early 20s, but they are worth thinking about. And my example is, I found myself working on computers or working on programs, not really programming, but fixing programs, getting my video games to work in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. I have school the next day. I'm supposed to be awake by 6. And I found myself doing this not because I just wanted to be a delinquent, but because my mind became fixated on it. And I noticed that in my life today, that when I'm at work and I'm working on a problem that has to do with programming or just general computing, I get fixated on it. And I will go downstairs to get a glass of water and stop halfway down because I realize something I could do, and immediately turn around and just stay dehydrated so I can try my new idea. Now, there are a lot of things this can go into. if you like building things, and 3D printers are a thing now, if you find your mind kind of thinking about these things that you could build and design, these physical shapes and objects, and just kind of dreaming about what you could make when you really should be focusing on English class, that might be somewhat of a sign to you that this is something that your mind is being set to, and you can accomplish it. If you love cooking and you basically find yourself thinking about different ways to cook food when you should be focusing in math class, that might be a sign that you should follow this path. This might be something that your mind is set to. So I'd like to kind of rename that expression of, you can do anything you set your mind to you can do anything your mind gets set to. And you will find as you go along in life that there's a pattern here. And it might not only be one thing, and that may mean there's more than one right answer. But it's just something to think about. I kind of noticed it today. I've been working on some programming stuff, and I've kind of, figured out over my life, mostly when I was in college, that the programming aspect is just something I get incredibly fixated on. And I still try to be a normal person at the same time. But it's something that I don't really feel like is in my control. I think it's kind of just part of who I am. And I think a lot of people have that same kind of thing. It's just not super apparent when you're younger or when you're trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do. But for me anyway, it was there. It was there. There were those nights I stayed up late, and I wasn't programming back then, but it was working on either getting a program to work or getting a physical computer to work, that I was willing to set aside what should have been higher priorities to make that happen. And that is a really good sign that that thing would be a good career for you. Now, it's not the only sign, obviously, but it's something to keep in mind and something to think about when you're trying to figure out what you want to do. Okay, so if you like this video, please give me a like. And if you want to see more of this, please subscribe. Have a good night.